What's good, y'all? It's the one and only King Cal 516 live in the mix, and this is the Swiss Flames podcast 2021 NBA free agency coverage. I am so excited. The drama's about to go down. It's about to go down. If you guys don't know, we are about 5 minutes away when the NBA free agency period opens up and players will be able to sign on to new teams or return to their current teams. We got a lot to cover. But please stay tuned, stay focused to stay with us as we're going to have some fun, y'all, tonight. There's going to be a lot of drama. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of teams with major cap space. So we're going to see a lot of trades as well. So there's going to be signings, trades, players are going to change teams, stay on teams. And so we're here to cover it all. So we just want to thank everybody who's going to join us tonight. We just appreciate you guys. Anyway, be sure to check out the website, www.swissflames.com. Hit us up on the Twitter, @SwissFlames, and definitely check out our brand new Facebook page, @SwissFlames Podcast. You under dig? So, listen, we are here and 2 minutes away before, we'll probably start to see, hopefully, a couple of signings go in. But let's talk about the point guard market, which is really, as far as the best position of players available, is definitely in the point guard branch of players in this year's free agency. And Chris Paul opted out. Obviously, he's the top point guard in the market, but we kind of all know he's returning to the Suns. So there's really no desire to kind of get into, where Chris Paul might go. Yeah, we pretty much know he's going back to the Suns. He's just going to re-sign. We're just going to wait to see what exactly is that deal. But in all honesty, the best player available who looks like he's going to change teams is Kyle Lowry. And so for the point guard market, everything is really going to be Kyle Lowry and where he decides to go. Now, word on the block is the Miami Heat are the front runners to sign him. So we'll see if that goes down. We'll see if that happens. But the Miami Heat should be the front runners to sign him, and we'll see what goes down. But after Kyle Lowry decides where he goes, we're going to see an influx of possibilities of the Spencer Dinwiddies, the Lonzo Balls, the Dennis Schroeders. We'll probably get a better indication of where they might go. So the teams that are in the market for a point guard, as far as this offseason, are the New York Knicks, and they have the most cap space. We have the New Orleans Pelicans, who did a couple of trades, especially getting rid of Eric Bledsoe's salary, trading Steven Adams, and some other maneuvers that have created some cap space so that they can go out for a major player. Expect them to be in the mix for one of these free agent guards, and also expect them, if they don't get the guy they want, expect them to also look for potential signing trades options out there. Also, we know that the Chicago Bulls, who have some flexibility, a little bit of flexibility, are looking for a point guard as well. So we'll see what they do and how they maneuver. With the recent trade of Russell Westbrook to the Lakers, we know that the Washington Wizards are now in the market for a potential point guard. So that's another thing that, we're going to look for. Will the Wizards get somebody maybe on that mid-level exception? We'll see how that all unfolds. So we got a few teams, definitely looking for a point guard. The Dallas Mavericks, another team that might look to slide in and grab a point guard. They've created a little bit of flexibility as well. We'll see what they might be doing. But just remember this, Kyle Lowry is really the main roller. Once we see him rolling, it's going to be a domino effect of where these other guys go as far as tonight and in the next couple of days. We'll see some definitely motion, but definitely the point guard market is the best market of players as far as talent available. This isn't necessarily the best free agent class as just far as star players available. A lot of the star players we were expecting this offseason to be available, sign extensions, and are not on the market. But a big name that has some intrigue that is out on the market is Kawhi Leonard. Now, Kawhi Leonard opted out of his contract. Now, if he wants to maximize the most money, what Kawhi Leonard would do would be opt out, which he did, and sign a 1+1 deal. Because if he stays on the Clippers for one more season and then tries to negotiate a long-term contract next year, he'll make the most money he can with the Clippers. So most likely that's what Kawhi is doing. But if I'm a Clipper fan today, the only thing that gives me a little bit of reservation will be the fact that Kawhi is scheduled to meet with other teams. Now, we haven't been told what teams, but according to reports, he's expected to. He's definitely expected to hit the market and at least talk to other teams. Now that's a little shaky, but Kawhi is a cat that he's hard to read and he's hard to understand. So we don't really know what Kawhi is thinking. But most reports are saying that he's returned to the Clippers, but I still find it a little bit odd that he's going to talk to other teams because Kawhi has an injury and he's going to be out most of the season. So Kawhi, let me just say this: it is possible for Kawhi to go back to the Clippers and say, "Yeah, let me get 1+1," because he's home and use, the time obviously because the Clippers are an LA team. Use that time period to rehab. Maybe he's back at the end of the season if it goes good. Maybe he's not, and then opt out again next year. Then go to a team that he met with, that he's going to meet with this year, whoever that might be. Maybe it's the Mavs. Maybe he goes join Luka. Maybe he ends up with the Heat. Who knows? Um, but if I'm a Clippers fan, I don't like hearing that Kawhi is going to talk to other teams because that's really saying something to the organization. Because if Kawhi was happy and didn't have any reserves about the Clippers, he would not meet with other teams. He would just opt out, top back in. But we'll see how that unfolds because maybe he doesn't meet with other teams. Maybe that was a report. Maybe that report was false. But we'll see. So the key with this is, will Kawhi meet with other teams? Because if he's going to meet with other teams, there's a slight possibility that a team could woo him enough to say, oh, wait a minute. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you're going out with a girl. You say you really like her. You say you want to wife her, but you're not really wifing her, but you want to go dibble dabble and hang out with other girls. You see where that conflict of interest is? So if you're a Clippers fan, I will be a little concerned about that. But once again, let's see if he officially meets with other teams. But if he does, then I'm saying that there's a slight possibility Kawhi Leonard, if he doesn't choose to leave this year, can choose to opt out next year off a 1+1 deal and go to a team he talked to this offseason if he does go to talk to teams. So we'll see how that all unfolds. But with that said, we got one major signing, and this is I would say maybe a surprise, but maybe not so much a surprise. So the New Orleans Pelicans, Lonzo Ball has signed a 4-year, $85 million contract with the Chicago Bulls in a sign and trade agreement. So Lonzo Ball is going to the Chicago Bulls. All right. Lonzo Ball is going to the Chicago Bulls. Shout out to Lonzo Ball. Listen, I like Lonzo Ball a lot. I think LaMelo Ball coming into the NBA woke Lonzo up to a great degree, and I think it'll light a fire under Lonzo Ball. Now, going to the Bulls, what I do hope is that the Bulls allow Lonzo Ball to grow. I feel like when he was with the Lakers and also when he's with the Pelicans, the coaches that he had didn't fully believe in him. So they didn't fully maximize Lonzo to his full strengths. And I truly believe if Lonzo Ball gets an opportunity to really develop and grow, that he's going to be a big-time player. He's not the killer his brother is, but Lonzo's very high IQ. He's an outstanding passer. And the most important thing is he's increased his three-point shooting and his free throw shooting. So you can play him late in games. You know what I mean? So Lonzo is on his way up. I think the next evolution of Lonzo game is trying to get a consistent attack to the lane and open up the game that way. If Lonzo can get better at doing that, Lonzo Ball has all-star potential for sure. But I like this move. Um, so the NBA rules is once you have a sign, if you do a signing trade, which I told you guys, there's going to be a lot of trades today. There's going to be an extremely big amount of trades today. So if you are a team that operates and does a sign and trade and receive a player and a sign and trade, you are hard cap then. That means whatever the NBA decides is the hard cap limit of the salary cap, you cannot go over. So the Bulls now are a hard cap team because of the sign and trade, but it was the only way they were going to be able to maneuver and make a move like this. So Lonzo Ball, once again, on a 4-year deal, $85 million contract with the Chicago Bulls. I really like this signing. And so now we see the point guard market shifting a little bit, right? We got one off the board. We're still waiting for Kyle Lowry because once Kyle Lowry goes to his destination, the floodgates are going to open up for the point guard market. But shout out to Lonzo Ball, man. Shout out to Lonzo Ball. Congratulations to Clutch Sports. And once again, I think that's a good look for the Bulls. So another player to talk about is Dennis Schroeder, right? We'll see what happens. If Dennis Schroeder can't find a team with cap space to sign him to the amount of money he wants, at that moment he can go back to the Lakers and look for a team that can sign and trade him. If you're a Laker fan, you want that to happen. If you're a Laker fan, you want Dennis Schroeder to not be able to find one of these teams who have cap space. So you don't want the Knicks to sign him, who have a boatload of cash. You don't want him going to any of these teams with cap space. And now that the Bulls are off the table because they've just signed Lonzo Ball to that 4-year, $85 million deal, if you're a Laker fan, this is what you want to hear. And so we'll see what happens, because if Dennis Schroeder can't find one of these teams that have cap space to sign him, the Lakers will be able to do a sign and trade and get a piece back to help that roster. So we'll see what happens with that. But if you guys have to see that we are definitely looking good here. All right. So we're just refreshing a little bit. All right. So we got a little bit more information about that sign and trade. So the Bulls are sending Thomas Satoransky, Garrett Temple, and a second-round pick to New Orleans for Lonzo Ball. All right. So that's the exchange of the sign and trade there. That gives the Pelicans some depth, a couple of players to come in, to give some depth or some trade chips that they can go get something else. We'll see what the Pelicans do. I don't think the Pelicans are done in this free agency. I do believe the Pelicans are in the market, especially with trading Lonzo Ball, or they might decide to give one of their young bucks an opportunity. But let's be honest, man, the Pelicans are under the gun and they're under fire because they got Zion Williamson, and they just lost Anthony Davis a couple years ago. And if you lose Zion Williamson after you just lost a player like Anthony Davis, it's not going to be good for a franchise to recover from that. So David Griffin is really under fire. He's under the clock to make something happen, and we'll see what he does this offseason. But we got so we got another drop. According to Shams Charania, 5-time NBA All-Star Jimmy Butler is expected to agree to a maximum contract extension with the Miami Heat when the league year opens up August 6th. All right. So Butler max contract is expected to be 4 years in excess of $184 million per cap experts. All right, so that's cool. So Jimmy Buckets gets an extension, well-deserved. Ever since Jimmy's got there, the whole tone, Miami was always a serious team, a focused team, a well-ran organization. But I think, over the years, they needed that new young gun leader to come in there and kind of take that mantle. Udonis Haslem is still there. He hasn't retired yet. I don't think he's retired yet, so maybe he's come back another season. We'll see how that unfolds and everything. But Jimmy Buckets has been a great leader for the Miami Heat. You know what I mean? His first season there, he leads them to the championship, even though they lose in the championship series. They had a little sticky year this past offseason, so we'll see if the Miami Heat bounce back. But remember that we're waiting to see if Kyle Lowry goes to Miami Heat, because a lot of rumors are on fire heading in that direction. But we haven't gotten the official word on that yet. But we'll see in the next few minutes how that's going to go and how that's going to be. All right. So we also know that there's a lot of contenders looking to shore up rosters for this upcoming season. We just want to say a quick congratulations to the Milwaukee Bucks on becoming the NBA champions this past offseason. Shout out to Giannis Antetokounmpo for doing this thing. Shout out to those guys. But we got a lot of contenders who've got a lot of injuries this year and are looking to bounce back. And so some of these teams just believe health is the way they're going to bounce back. And some of these teams look like they're not settling for just health. They're looking to make any kind of moves that can make them better. So this is what free agency is all about, man. So if you are a fan of the NBA, this is one of the best times of the year. This are the times you kind of like, because, you're going to be watching to see what your teams do. All right, so we got another drop from Shams Charania. Free agent John Michael Green has agreed to a 2-year, $17 million deal to return to the Denver Nuggets. This deal will include a player option in year 2. All right, so John Michael Green has agreed to a 2-year, $17 million deal, and he's staying with the Denver Nuggets. So that's a good move by the Denver Nuggets to kind of keep some of their core together. And what this makes me wonder is just a matter of Paul Millsap. This possibly could be the end of Paul Millsap in Denver. Because I just don't see them signing both guys. But we'll wait and see if Paul Millsap does get a deal. But most likely, this would mean Paul Millsap might be looking for another team. The Lakers need bodies. Their roster needs bodies, so maybe I wouldn't be surprised if Paul Millsap might not will become an option for the Lakers now. You know what I mean? So shout out to the Denver Nuggets. They're a team that this past offseason is another team that might look at it. We weren't at full strength. We made it to the second round of the playoffs again. But with a healthy Jamal Murray, another year Michael Porter getting better, the Joker coming off an MVP season, we like our chances. So I expect Denver to kind of upgrade on the hinges, not necessarily make major moves, but they did a great trade midseason, getting Aaron Gordon, and so they got a deep roster, and I think they're just going to run it back. Like I said, maybe add a couple pieces here and there around the edges, but I think they're going to run it back with the majority of that same core, and I think that's what they should do. They're a young team, they got the talent, and I definitely want to see how they do this season. But the question is definitely going to be for that team, Jamal Murray, how long will he be out this season? Because he's going to miss a good chunk of the season. So we'll see how that all unfolds. So you're rocking with the Switch Flames podcast. Once again, I'm your host, King Cal 516, live in the mix. We chilling. All right, so we got a bunch of signings coming in. So we're gonna get to that. I'm gonna hit Adrian Wojnarowski's page because he's got a few signings that are coming in. And so here's a big name that is now off the list. Jared Allen has agreed to a 5-year, $100 million contract to stay with the Cleveland Cavaliers. All right, according to Woj. And I'm not surprised by this. I think this is a good deal for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And the fact that they drafted Evan Mobley, who's a big man, but he's not a big man with body. He's more of a skilled big man, but I foresee him playing the power forward position. And Jared Allen will, who's just bigger in size, will definitely play center, and he'll be the enforcer. He'll be the rim protector. Man, Jared Allen's a great defender, and the thing I like about Jared Allen is, boy, he's not afraid to get dunked on, which means he'll jump for anything. And some people might say, oh, but that's a great thing. He's a great rim protector. He alters shots. Some guys in certain situations don't even attempt to jump because they're afraid to get dunked on. Jared Allen doesn't have that fear, and he has been dunked on, but he's gotten a lot of blocks, having that no fear mentality of protecting the rim. And so, shout out to Jared Allen. This is a guy who's worked hard, and he's getting a 5-year, $100 million deal. Most of us believe that he's going to get the biggest deal for any center this offseason. There's not a center on the market besides him that's going to get this kind of deal. So shout out to Jared Allen, man. He did his thing, and it's a great signing for Cleveland. Now, the key with Cleveland now is going to be, can they come off of Kevin Love's contract? There's been a lot of rumors about Colin Sexton being traded, and maybe Kevin Love tied to that. But we'll see what happens. As far as that goes, here's another report. Center Nerlens Noel is returning to New York Knicks on a 3-year, $32 million contract. All right, so that's good. And so Nerlens Noel was one of the rim protectors for the New York Knicks. He had a great bounce-back season of the New York Knicks. And so this is a good deal for the New York Knicks. And considering the last few seasons, Nerlens Noel has been making much money, this is a good deal for him. He gets this little 3-year, $32 million contract. So, shout out to Nerlens Noel because he played hard, and he's a great man. He's a great center. He's not the most skillful offensive guy, but defensively and his athleticism, another guy that can protect the rim. He played very well for the Knicks. So the Knicks are doing well right now, trying to re-sign key guys. And I like what the Knicks have been doing, because let's be honest, man, the last 20 years, I mean, it's been a while. The management of the Knicks have been up and down, but I really like what I'm seeing by Worldwide West and Leon Rose. I think these guys have added some credibility to the Knicks. These are guys that have big time relationships with their history and business. And so they're well known around the league. And these guys are doing very good things. And they've been patient too, because in the past, the Knicks have been throwing money at free agents that were past their prime and had injury histories. But because the main guys weren't jumping on them, it was like the only stars they could get. So they just went for it. So I believe this regime is different. So I hope that they continue that path. You know what I'm saying? They're going to be big fish hunting, but if it ain't the right big fish, then you keep doing what you're doing, keep building your assets, and be patient to the time that opens up when that big fish is available. And then you can put your chips on the table and go for it. You know what I'm saying? Don't go for it for a guy that is wishy-washy. You're not sure if they can fit the bill, you know? If you're the New York Knicks, you don't want to make that repeat in that era of previous regimes. And so we'll see if they have that patience still. But so far, they look like they've had. And so shout out to the Knicks. Shout out to their management. And we'll see how that goes. So we have another signing. Once again, coming from the New York Knicks, free agent guard Alex Burks has agreed to a 3-year, $30 million contract to stay with the New York Knicks. And so Knicks keep somebody in the backcourt. Question will be with the Knicks, are they going to re-sign Derrick Rose or not? All right. They signed Alex Burks back, but is Derrick Rose coming back? We'll see. All right, let's keep it going. Here's one that's coming in that we are not surprised by. Another guard that's off the market, but we kind of tied this guard to the team that he was going to resign to anyway. But Mike Conley has agreed to a 3-year, $72.5 million contract to stay in Utah. We already know that Derek Favors got traded this week to create more cap flexibility. And that was all a move to ease the burden of re-signing Mike Conley. He was hurt this year. I believe if Mike Conley didn't get hurt, the Jazz probably would have put a better fight against the Clippers and maybe take them to 7. But he just wasn't himself. And you can tell he rushed to come back because the team needed a boost. So it's like in that position, I understand why he came back, but he wasn't himself. But the Jazz is another team that I think are not going to stay with the status quo. So I wouldn't be surprised if they move off of one of these other guys, like maybe Ingles or even, Bogdanovich. Maybe they move off of one of these guys just to change up a little bit. You know what I mean? Instead of keep running back with the same team. So we'll see what they do. You know what I mean? Because the Jazz are another team that they might be a move or two away if they get the right person to really contend for that championship. All right. Here's another Woj bomb. Free agent Kelly Olynyk has agreed to a 3-year, $37 million deal with the Detroit Pistons. Shout out to the Detroit Pistons. They drafted Cade Cunningham. You got a up-and-coming star, Jeremy Grant. And so now you have Kelly Olynyk. He's a floor spacer. He's a hustle guy. He plays hard. You know what I mean? So he's a big that can shoot the ball. And so that creates some space, for Cunningham when he's kind of trying to attack the lane. It's another guy he'll be able to kick out to. So shout out to Kelly Olynyk. That's a good deal for Kelly Olynyk, man. Kelly Olynyk's still getting the bag, man. He's got a good agent. But Jeff Schwartz is his agent. That makes a lot of sense. Jeff Schwartz is one of the better agents out there. All right, so as we see, some of these transactions are coming in, and I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. I'm definitely liking what I'm seeing so far. All right, so I was just checking to make sure that we didn't get no new bombs. So right off the bat, we can see that a lot of things are going on behind the scenes, and this is what the NBA is all about. When I look at the NBA compared to a lot of other leagues, the drama of free agency for the NBA is just at a higher level. And so shout out to everybody who's listening. Shout out to everybody who's into this stuff like me, man. I feel like a geek being into all this stuff, but it is what it is, man. No, this stuff is exciting.